Hey, this is Notser, and this is Untitled. This week, I want to talk about down the line. Are you ever going to actually play the game ever again, Notser? Yes. Something came up yesterday. I will be streaming Japanese Destroyer down the line today. Hopefully you enjoy it. On top of that, the Ryzen CPU motherboard, obviously because it's a different socket than what I have, is coming today. Don't know when I'll actually have it done, but on the horizon, I will have a better stream box and YouTube creation box. The encoding should be faster, everything should be faster. It'll be really nice. It'll be really nice for the stream. Because what happens on the stream is you encode, and I do X264. It is very CPU intensive, but it's very efficient, so I don't need a lot of bandwidth to send to Twitch to get the best picture. Unfortunately, my CPU didn't have the power to really do it in a clean image quality as I would like. The Ryzen's going to be able to do way more. It should be noticeable. Anytime I zoom in and out, a quick change in the scene, that's when it kicks in and the encoder really suffers. So that's what we're addressing with the Ryzen box. And any high CPU count, any thread count for a CPU will improve this particular part of the experience. Finally, I want to talk about Powerline. Ever hear of what a Powerline is? Yeah, I didn't know what it was until my friends were like, why aren't you using a Powerline? What the hell is a Powerline? And that's all we're going to tease until we get to it. So first, down the line, I am so sorry for not being... my schedule's been awful. I've been sick, PC issues, stuff comes up. I will be making up the Japanese Destroyer line down the line today as you're watching this. We're going to be going, at the start, do the alternative line, the premiums. Hopefully that'll be enjoyable for you. And yeah, down the line is great content for those who are trying to get into the game and understand maybe there's something that they're missing. And I think down the line is honestly the best content I make. I can't do all the recording though on my spare time. I just don't have the time, so that's why I use the stream. Well, it would help if you actually streamed, Notser. I realize that. But, that's the way it works. Life doesn't stop. It always has ebbs and flow. Hopefully we have been able to get past most of the issues. I certainly like making content, I just haven't been able to. And the plan is always to make good content for you. I really do want to talk about the premiums coming out, the game, ranked, all that stuff. So we will be doing that. Now, the Ryzen box. Why did I get a Ryzen box? Why did I get this at all? Well, the CPU I'm using right now on my stream box is probably 4 or 5 years old. It is a 4770K, and it used to be my primary box. The story goes is that I had a PC with a 9800, is it 9800? A 980. A 980 Ti, and it was great. But I was streaming and playing from that same box. Eventually, when I generated enough funds, I was going to build my own super gaming PC and then turn my previous gaming PC into my streaming box. It made perfect sense, right? It doesn't have any CPUs though. Very low, 8 total, 4 physical, and I can't really get it up that high on its clock speed. Just the nature of overclocking and all that stuff, I didn't get a particularly impressive CPU on that front. So that directly impacts the image quality that you get sent. The way the Twitch service works, you have to use X264. You could do Shadowplay, InVec, or QuickSync, but those aren't really efficient with bandwidth, so you're going to sacrifice a lot of picture quality in order to just use it. Yeah, it won't use any CPU, but it won't use anything else. So most people who stream for a living do X264. X264 is a CPU-based encoder. Obviously CPU-based. The more CPUs you have, the more CPU overhead you can do, the better it's going to be and allow for more improvement of the image quality before it's even sent. This is beyond the 6,000 kilobits or the 3,500 kilobits. If you watch my stream, if you watch any stream, especially World of Warships, you might notice that when people zoom in and out, there's sort of a artifacting. Artifacting comes from the image changing too fast. You might have seen it if you're watching Netflix or some streaming service, maybe YouTube. If the scene switches too quick and you don't have enough bandwidth, you're going to see some of those square artifacts. And that's basically what happens on my system. It's very clean appearance-wise whenever I'm playing, but whenever I zoom in and out on stream, I can see that the encoder, because it's an immediate scene shift, I can see the encoder is not liking it. So with all this extra overhead, literally going from 4 physical to 8 physical and 16 total with the Ryzen at 4K, or at 4 gigahertz, it's supposed to be way better at this encoding process. Would you need a ton of CPUs for gaming? Absolutely not. I would highly discourage you from picking up tons of CPUs unless you are streaming in the background, rendering, doing some sort of video editing. Games don't use a lot of CPUs, so this is not targeted at you. That's why if you go to like a server CPU that's like $2,000, they've got 30 cores and a ton of memory overhead. I mean, that's a completely different beast. But I do primarily on this box, I do a encoding video style and a stream. So it's important. And hopefully this Ryzen will work out. There's not a lot of Ryzen, it's still getting through the baby steps. There's still compatibility issues. You still have motherboards that don't have the BIOS. BIOS updates are happening every 2 to 3 weeks. It's a brand new CPU socket that came out, and yeah, obviously there's going to be some growing pains, and we're just going to go through it. But eventually, when I get the chance, I will be swapping over my stream box to use that. Now, some people are like, why don't you just use, since it's going to be your faster CPU, why don't you use that as your primary? Well, Intel is still really good at being efficient at 1080p. I just got my Intel. It's a 6800K, and I don't really have any problems with that 1080. It works just fine. Plus, the Ryzen is going to be a better CPU for streaming. If I were to have the exact same gen, the exact same everything, the Ryzen is made to stream much more than the Intel CPU. It's part of the core development that AMD wanted. This is probably the first CPU that has been created from the ground up with the knowledge that streaming exists and all that stuff. Even Intel is still on a CPU that basically was created in early 2000s. Now they've grown on top of it, but it hasn't had a full rewrite. Therefore, they can't make it work better or worse for new developments. You know, maybe VR. I don't know that VR would require anything different, but that's an example of something that's fairly new and that they sort of have to jerry-rig compatibility rather than from the ground up building something with that knowledge. Most CPUs, even GPUs, are probably like 3 or 4 years behind when they actually develop them. So we should right now be running into NVIDIA chips coming out that are going to take full advantage of new things that are coming out. And Ryzen is pretty successful. I saw that the Ryzen 5 was the #1 CPU selling, which is I think it's a 12 core? 6 physical, 12 total core CPU. It's actually pretty impressive. The equivalent Intel is like $100 more expensive, so not a shocker there. That's going to be fun to do, and I can't wait. I love PC stuff, clearly. It's like, whoa, you got PCs. I would honestly love making the PC and sharing my experience. I don't know. I don't know if people care that much about that, but I'm into PC tech. I love it. Finally, let's talk about Powerline. What the hell is Powerline? Well, it's not a band. Well, it is a band, but it's not what I'm talking about. Powerline is a technique where you connect your outlet, your power outlet, with an Ethernet cable. And you could basically have a wired experience very far away from your router. I have been using wireless for about, 2 years, give or take. And it's AC, it's just fine. But it's not quite as fast as it could be. Not quite. Almost. We're almost there. But the wired connection is still clearly superior. And I need to communicate with PCs on the network. And I only have a cap on how quick I can do that, right? Especially through Wi-Fi. So yeah, I was like, what? What is this sorcery? You have 2 Ethernet hubs, one at the main router, and then one coming out of a power outlet near your PCs if they're in a completely different part of your house. And I believe it uses the electrical current to send the signal between one adapter and the other, which is really cool. They've got pass-through, they've got multiple plugs, all that stuff, and I didn't know this existed, so it's the perfect solution to get a wired experience. I asked some people, you know, hey, did it work out for you? Yeah, it's worked out great for me. You didn't know about this? No, I didn't know about it. Just the wonders. I wish I was closer to my router. I just can't be. I just can't. But yeah, it's interesting. I love tech. I always look it up. I always do all that stuff. Hopefully we could get this all going even better when the Ryzen comes out and I plug it in. Hopefully I don't have a million issues. It'll be nice though. I can't really express to you how much better the stream experience should be. It should be less pixelation in the fast scene switches, and I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. But if you're interested in me documenting the changeover, you know what? Just, let me know. I would absolutely be up for it. I admittedly don't have a super nice camera. Probably the nicest camcorder I have is my cell phone. So I would have to sort of jerry-rig a over-the-shoulder view and maybe do some sort of cut where I'm close up to look at the CPU. But I know there's some people out there that are like, I don't really care. There's some people who are like, wow, I really enjoy the process of making boxes and talking about that stuff because tech's fun. I'm that sort of guy. I love seeing cars, worked on. I'm way into the mechanical engineering aspect of building stuff. So that's what's on the docket for me. So later today, Japanese destroyer down the line. On Wednesday, I don't really know. Hopefully at some point in the near future, we get access to the British battleships. Still don't have them. I want to play them. I want to share my experience with you. Obviously, I'm not going to break NDA. I will talk about things that have leaked or freely done, but I can't comment on anything that I have access to, and I can't release any of it. Thankfully, the British battleships are not one of those. I could freely talk about my opinions on the 470 or the 457 millimeter guns, and I think I'll probably do that tomorrow because I will be busy with all this stuff later today. Streaming. I have a raid, and the CPU stuff's coming, so we'll check all that out. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.